HD TV on the wall. Who's the fairest one of all?
To address the elephant in the room. I'm the hottest person in the world.
Oh my God.
It's the most emotional experience that a person can go through to know that what they're working on is something that has reached a generation of people.
I can also be having the greatest time and simultaneously wishing people would stop sending me death threats.
But Snow White's the fairest I have seen. Also, there's a weather girl on Channel 9.
The moment the episode aired, it was like someone hit the internet with a frying pan. The Simpsons, the longest-running satire on television, had just dropped its most brutal parody in years. Snow woke the reimagining, and it didn't take a genius to figure out who it was targeting.
And this bed is just like the first one. Also,
A fictional princess with flowing dark hair, a lecture-ready monologue, no prince, and a movie that flopped harder than anyone imagined. It wasn't subtle, it was savage, and according to insiders, Rachel Zegler was furious.
Are there any dwarves in your story?
yes, but they're my own original creature.
Sources close to the situation claimed that Rachel, already reeling from months of bad headlines and online ridicule, was blindsided when she learned about the episode. She allegedly contacted her team immediately, demanding they make calls to Disney, to Fox, even directly to the Simpsons producers. Her ass pull the episode, or at least edit out her parody character. The response she got an unapologetic, no, the episode's locked, it aired its satire. One Fox source reportedly said, "We're not pulling anything."
It's not funny, Bart. Millions of girls will grow up thinking that this is the right way to...
That's when things truly exploded. Social media lit up with clips from the episode. TikToks were instantly flooded with side-by-side edits. Rachel's infamous Snow White interviews. On one side, the cartoon parody. On the other, quotes like, "It's no longer 1937, and the prince is a stalker," was spliced. Next, a Krusty the Clown collapsing in a fake press junket muttering, "Please stop talking." It was relentless.
Just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
Not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows.
And audiences couldn't look away, because this wasn't just the Simpsons being funny. It was the Simpsons doing what they do best, taking a cultural moment and slicing it open with a scalpel. And this time the blade landed squarely on Rachel Zegler. Within hours, Rachel Z was trending not because of a new project, not because of an apology, but because one of the most iconic shows on television had just turned her public persona into national satire. And once that happens, there's no taking it back.
HD TV on the wall. Who's the fairest?
The episode aired, the internet roared, Fox stood its ground, and Rachel, she disappeared. No posts, no tweets, no statements, just silence. But as she thought going quiet would make the storm pass, she underestimated one thing: you don't win a fight with the Simpsons, you survive it. And for Rachel Zegler, survival might be the hardest role she's ever had to play. To understand why the Simpsons went for the jugular, you have to rewind, because this didn't come out of nowhere.
I mean, you know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so.
This was the boiling point of a saga that had been unraveling for almost 2 years, a saga that began with Disney's bold announcement. Rachel Zegler, the rising star fresh off West Side Story, would be the new face of Snow White. It should have been her crowning moment. Instead, it became a case study in how to burn goodwill faster than a viral tweet. From the jump, the backlash didn't come from the film's visuals, costumes, or even the controversial removal of the dwarfs. It came from Rachel's own words, the now infamous interviews in which she dismissed the original 1937 film as weird, called the prince a guy who literally stalks her.
There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah. Weird.
And insisted that this version of Snow White wasn't dreaming about love. She was dreaming about leadership. To some, it sounded progressive. To many, it came off as smug, disrespectful, almost hostile to the very story she'd been hired to celebrate. And then came the social media minefield. A sudden Free Palestine tweet dropped in the middle of press campaigns, a clip where she said if people disagreed with her views, they should unfollow.
Our rights are on the line, folks. Our reproductive rights.
Oh.
Come on.
Go get Cheshire Cat.
Go vote blue. And if you disagree with this sentiment, just hit the unfollow button.
The awkwardness, silent press junkets with gouge du every appearance became a fresh wave of backlash, and rather than pull back, Rachel doubled down. The result, a PR disaster. Disney couldn't fix box office numbers. Created YouTubers filmed themselves in empty theaters. And for the first time, a Disney live-action remake didn't just underperform, it became a joke, a punchline, a trending hashtag for all the wrong reasons. So when the Simpsons writers sat down to brainstorm satire, they didn't need to Exaggerate. They just opened TikTok, the fictional princess in Snow Woke Band's romantic subplots rewrites fairy tales into lectures and insists she deserves more screen time and more pay while her movie tanks and her co-stars shrink into the background sound familiar, because that's the core why this parody hurts. It's not just mocking a performance, it's mocking a persona, a brand, a string of decisions and quotes and public misfires that transformed promising young actress into a lightning rod of cultural exhaustion. Rachel Zegler didn't just play Snow White, she rewrote the script, and now satire is writing hers.
Ah, here we are. All that walking.
Let's talk about the episode that triggered it all. Snow Woke. The reimagining wasn't just a lazy jab, it was a full-blown roast top to bottom. The Simpsons didn't tiptoe around controversy, they sprinted right into it with a flaming torch and a wink. And for anyone who's been following the Rachel Zegler drama, it was eerily spot on. The parody princess clearly modeled after Zegler's Snow White shows up in a press junket scene interrupting every question with condescending monologues about equity, feminism, and dismantling patriarchal narratives. She calls the prince a toxic archetype, suggests the dwarfs are exploitative labor symbols, and then stares dead-eyed into the camera to declare, "I'm not here to be loved, I'm here to lead." Cue Krusty the Clown, visibly sweating, muttering into his earpiece, "Why didn't anyone tell me we cast someone with a podcast?" Then comes a premiere scene, a grand red carpet, fireworks, journalists, paparazzi, and no audience. The camera pans out to reveal rows of empty theater seats. One lone viewer claps slowly, mutters, "I miss the old princess," and walks out. The parody film within the episode bombed spectacularly, just like the real one did, and then in classic Simpsons fashion, it all collapses into chaos.
I was scared of the original cartoon. I think I watched it once and then I never picked it.
The fictional Rachel Z character melts down on Krusty's Late Show, shouting the audience for misunderstanding her genius before storming off stage and tripping over a pile of reprinted fairy tale books she had previously declared problematic. It's ruthless, it's clever, and it's unmistakably personal. This isn't just satire to mirror a warped yellow-skinned mirror reflecting exactly how the public sees Zegler, now a performer so caught up in trying to reshape the narrative that she forgot to tell a story people actually wanted to hear. And that's what cut deepest, because satire doesn't sting when it's made up, it stings when it's true, when it takes your worst public moments and packages them into cartoon absurdity so ridiculous it suddenly feels accurate. People watching the episode didn't just laugh, they nodded, comments flooded in. This is what we've all been thinking for months. They didn't exaggerate, they summarized, and perhaps the harshest one, her career just got Simpsoned. And that's not a moment you come back from easily. If the episode was loud, Rachel's response was the exact opposite: total silence. Not a tweet, not a statement, not even a vague Instagram story about learning to ignore the noise, nothing, just gone. But behind-the-scenes sources say she was anything but quiet. One industry insider claims Rachel lost at the moment she saw the clips.
They cannot keep making dolls like this. Something has to be done.
Lisa, ordinarily I'd say you should stand up for what you believe in, but you've been doing that an awful lot.
She allegedly called her representatives in a fury, demanding they contact Fox directly, not to talk it out, to shut it down. She didn't want to address the episode. She wanted it removed immediately. A source close to the situation described her as genuinely shaken, saying the portrayal wasn't just embarrassing, it was humiliating. The parody didn't just mock her, it crystallized a way the public now perceives her. The request, however, didn't get far. Fox reportedly refused outright. The episode had aired, it was protected under satire, and perhaps more importantly, it was pulling massive viewership numbers. Ratings spiked, clips dominated social feeds. They had no intention of censoring themselves, especially not for someone they believe handed them the material on a silver platter. Rumors began swirling that Disney itself reached out behind closed doors, not to threaten, but to mitigate. One unverified report claims a Disney exec called to suggest that maybe the depiction was unnecessarily harsh, but was met with polite dismissal. In other words, thanks, but no thanks. And still Rachel stayed quiet, which for someone so outspoken during the Snow White press tour felt strange. This wasn't just a new wave of criticism, it was a mainstream mockery from one of the most culturally iconic shows in TV history. And a total silence, it didn't read as strength, it read as retreat.
You would do in a pinch, my queen, but Snow White's the fairest I have seen. Also, there's a weather girl on Channel 9 who's...
Fans began speculating immediately. Was she under a gag order from Disney? Was her team scrambling behind the scenes to reshape her public image yet again? Or was this the first time she genuinely had no idea how to respond? Because there's no script for this. You can clap back at YouTubers, you can outpose a critic. But The Simpsons, that's not a PR scuffle, that's canon, that's pop culture cement. And once you become a joke on The Simpsons, you don't get to erase it, you live with it or try to and write Now Rachel Zegler is learning the hard way that silence doesn't always equal strategy. Sometimes it just looks like surrender. As Rachel's glare disappeared from the spotlight, the machinery around her didn't pause. It shifted quietly, strategically, and not in her favor. Sources within Disney's marketing wing say plans any remaining Snow White promotion involving Rachel have been officially scrapped. One insider put it bluntly. She's not touchable right now. Scheduled appearances canceled. Panel invites pulled. Even the digital had pushed what little remained of it has shifted focus to visual effects, costumes, and Gala Doll's performance. Rachel's name carefully, almost surgically left out. And that silence isn't just coming from Disney. Multiple PR firms across Hollywood have reportedly started using her case as an internal training example how quickly a rising star can become a brand liability. Leaked slides from one agency's media workshop even included a still from the Simpsons parody under the headline, "When authenticity becomes arrogance, ouch." Even casting directors, typically the first to forgive and forget, are said to be pumping the brakes.
Trending on Twitter for days because all of the people were...
One Netflix producer allegedly told a showrunner, "We'll circle back once the air clears, she's still radioactive." Another major franchise, which had considered Zegler for a supporting role in a YA reboot, quietly removed her name from their short list of messages. Clear right now she's not a bankable face. And the irony, it's not about talent. No one questioning her ability to sing, act, or carry a lead. What's in question is a narrative surrounding her, the vibe, the backlash that seems to follow every time she speaks. And now every time she does in the Simpsons parody wasn't just that it was a signal, a confirmation that Zegler is no longer just a divisive public figure. She's a punchline. And that makes her a risk for studios, for brands, or entire marketing teams tasked with building buzz, not weathering backlash behind the scenes. Insiders are calling this a nail-in-the-coffin moment, not because she can't recover, but because the road back just got 10 times longer and steeper. One anonymous exec summed it up like this: Hollywood loves a comeback, but you can't come back until people want you to. And right now, they don't. Rachel Zegler, once a breakout darling handpicked by Spielberg himself, now finds herself at the center of a very different conversation. Not about what role she'll play next, but whether anyone's willing to cast her at all. As if the Simpsons episode wasn't brutal enough on its own, the internet did what it does best. It turned Rachel's pain into performance. Within hours of the episode airing, clips flooded TikTok. Audio from the parody was repurposed into trending sounds edits popped up showing side by sides of real live Zegler interviews mashed up with the cartoon versions, over-the-top monologues. The most shared line: "I'm not here to be loved, I'm here to lead." When
I get married, I'm keeping my own name. No, that should probably be if I choose to get married.
Users dubbed it the final boss of girl bossing, and it wasn't meant as a compliment. On YouTube reaction channels lit up, commentary creators, many of whom had already criticized Zegler during the Snow White rollout, now had a new weapon. One viral video titled "The Simpsons Just Did What Disney Wouldn't" racked up over 3 million views in 48 hours. Another, simply titled "Rachel Zegler Roasted," ended with a fake Oscars montage of her accepting her RZZY while Krusty the Clown clapped. And then it got worse. An old viral hoax resurfaced. A fake OnlyFans account allegedly using AI-generated images of Zegler. The original post had already been debunked, but in the chaos of the parody backlash, it started trending again. Thousands believed it was real. Memes exploded. Reddit threads speculated even after being disproven. The rumor stuck like glue. It didn't matter that it wasn't true. It mattered that people wanted it to be, because at this point it wasn't about facts, it was about narrative. Zegler had become the stand-in for everything. Fans felt frustrated about Hollywood arrogance, disrespect for classic characters, and a perception of stars who speak down instead of acting up. Her every word was now ammo, every silence interpreted as weakness, and there was no filter, no spin team big enough to clean it up. The public sentiment had shifted. What once could have been framed as youthful passion now felt like entitled detachment. Sympathy once offered when she broke down over online hate was drying up, not because people wanted to be cruel, but because they felt like she wasn't learning or listening or changing.
My name is Stacy, but you can call me...
I see exactly what you mean. This is a problem. But what do you expect me to do?
Change what she says. It's your company.
One viral comment summed it up best: the internet doesn't hate Rachel Zegler, it's just done giving her chances. The Simpsons made her a punchline, the internet turned her into a symbol. And that combination, it's a storm no publicist wants to manage. Not long ago, Rachel Zegler was the industry's golden girl. Spielberg's chosen one, a breakout star with a voice that lit up West Side Story and a future seemingly paved in gold. She was meant to be Disney's next great princess, a new face for a new generation. But now she's become something else entirely, a cautionary tale in real time. Her name no longer opens doors, it closes, and projects. She was once attached to our quietly shifting direction. Scripts are being rewritten, studios are re-evaluating according to sources, not because they doubt her talent, but because they fear audience baggage. She doesn't bring buzz anymore, she brings backlash. A talent agent from one of the big 3 agencies reportedly told her, "Client, we're avoiding anything she's orbiting. The risk isn't worth the reward." Another former collaborator, speaking under condition of anonymity, said flatly, "She's just too online and she doesn't know how to shut it off, and now it's bleeding into everything." And that's the part of the story nobody wants to admit. Rachel Zegler may have been talented, driven, even well-intentioned, but she underestimated the audience. She thought they would bend to her framing. Instead, they turned it against her. What's more troubling is the ripple effect she's had on casting conversations across town. Executives are whispering new rules, PR teams are drawing up social media restrictions for young actors. Don't do as Zegler, one Disney insider allegedly quipped after a recent press training session. In other words, be seen, be likable, be safe, but above all be quiet. That's a legacy Zegler's in danger of leaving behind, not one of creative reinvention, but of corporate hesitation.
What would you say to those who are just kind of overly critiquing the film at this point? You've worked so hard on it.
That now second guess whether outspoken, politically vocal, digitally savvy Gen Z stars are worth the gamble when the fan base is sensitive and the culture is reactive. And for Rachel herself, the silence is deafening. No follow-up project officially confirmed, no big-name directors rushing to defend her. Even her fan base seems fractured, loyalists still rooting for her, but noticeably quieter from the outside. It looks like she's standing on the edge of a cliff. One more misstep, one more viral comment, one more half smile at the wrong question, and the industry may turn away completely, because in Hollywood fame is fragile and Rachel Zegler's spotlight is dimming faster than anyone expected. So now we're here. Simpsons episode 8, a meme storm erupted. Career that once looked bulletproof is wobbling under the weight of its own PR avalanche, and the question hanging in the air is as loud as ever: is this the end or the beginning of something else? Because if Rachel Zegler's career does rebound, it won't be because of a clever rebrand or a surprise cameo in a Marvel post-credit scene. It'll be because she finally stops running from the storm and walks straight into it, owns it, confronts a narrative, shows she gets it, that she hears a backlash, and is willing to grow through it, not ghost it. But as of now, that hasn't happened. And the Simpsons didn't just mock the surface, they mocked the silence, the lack of self-awareness, the defiant refusal to engage with the public in any way that doesn't come off as defensive, dismissive, or detached. Rachel didn't have to be perfect, but people wanted her to be present, to show the kind of humility that separates a star from a celebrity, to remember what made audiences fall in love with Disney princesses in the first place: warmth, wonder, and heart. Instead, she's become a reminder of what happens when Hollywood tries to sell empowerment without empathy, when characters are elevated while audiences are lectured, when legacy gets rewritten not out of love but out of contempt. Now her parody lives on in digital eternity. Snowwoke, the reimagining, has officially joined the ranks of Simpsons satire alongside President Trump, Elon Musk, and every celebrity who flew too close to the cultural sun. And for better or worse, that cartoon version of Rachel lecturing woodland creatures and watching her movie bomb is now more recognizable than the real one. The industry is watching, the audience is watching, and the question becomes, what does Rachel Zegler do now? Does she keep running or does she reclaim the story? Because in Hollywood, you don't get to control how the world sees you, but you do get one shot to respond when they do. So what do you think? Did The Simpsons go too far? Or did they just say what millions were thinking? Is Rachel Zegler being unfairly dragged? Or is this the fallout from months of missteps? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Hit like if you think studios need to start listening to fans, not just headlines. And don't forget to subscribe for more North-Love deep dives into Hollywood's most unfiltered stories. And when you're ready to explore the next viral moment the industry really doesn't want you to hear about, the next video on your screen is waiting.